when so many people came over here from France, and they brought with them this celebration, and so it's been here for a long time. But the wonderful thing I like about it is that the beads are celebrated because of the Grand Duke Alexis Romanov came over, and that's when they first started the cruise, the parades and all of that. And these are, the beads are of royalty. And so the purple is for justice, the green is for faith, and the gold is for power. So you might today, later on, after we get done with the church service and when we start eating and doing a little bit of dancing and having a good time, you might, if you don't have one of each color, you might change with somebody else. So you can be for justice, the spirituality, and your own personal power. And now I'm sure he thought he'd never get a chance to speak. I want to present Reverend Keith Smyth, who is going to be talking and enlightening us on what we see is pretty much what we can get.
Certainly is.
Okay.
By the way, Eileen, my life partner Magic just finished another book. It's called Waiting on Patience. That's her 92nd book.
Nice.
Yes.
Lloyd?
Okay. I'm not going to have time to go over these handouts today, but I'll mention them real quick. They're real quick hints on how to do alternatives to visualization. The problem with the word visualization is that it has ramifications, and I'll get into that in a minute. Now, I'm not Reverend Eileen or Lori, and I have to use notes. I can't wing it. Visualization equals transmission. You don't have to understand how visualization works in order to use it anymore. You have to understand how a transmission works in a car in order to put it in reverse and back up. Your dreams do not depend on your present situation. You have to learn to pay attention to what you're paying attention to. That's the whole trick. Notice what you're noticing. Until you notice what you're noticing, you cannot create the outcome you want to have. Every situation in your life is neutral. You decide if it's good or bad. And by the way, bad is not a word, it's an acronym. Has anyone here ever really set out to do something bad? Well, bad is an acronym for best available data. You started out with the best available data you had and it didn't turn out the way you wanted. The universe reads your intentions by where you place your attention. Oops. Intention goes where the attention points. When your attention is pointing towards what you don't have, guess what? Your intention is to create more of what you don't have. If you're noticing lack, you're going to get a lot more lack. Whatever you give your energy to is what you'll have more of. Argue long enough for your limitations, and sure enough, eventually they'll be yours. Here's the trick. Emotion is a magnetic field. This field commands every molecule in the universe to move according to the image that's contained within the emotion. And every emotion contains an image. Your attention directs your emotional intentions, which force the universe to change in response to the commands within the image that is embedded in that emotion. That bears repeating. Your attention directs your emotional intentions, which forces the universe to change in response to the commands within the image embedded within that emotion. Every emotion you have contains an image, and you get to decide whether that image is beneficial or non-beneficial. I really prefer those two words to good and bad. It's either beneficial or it isn't beneficial. Yeah, you need to check out the imagery in your emotions and the emotions within your imagery. Notice what you're noticing. You can't change the situation in your life to get a better life. when you change what you're noticing, this changes your attention and your situation changes. When you change what you notice, blah, blah, blah. Tweet. I got my tongue wrapped around my eye tooth, I couldn't see what I was saying. This changes where your attention is, and your situation will change. Intention goes where attention points. Now, where the mind goes, the energy flows. How to do the imagining. We use the word visualization, and this thing carries connotations and ramifications. Why can't I get a good, why the blank don't I get a solid image in my head? Well, you don't need a solid image. You need, well, let's do it this way. I'm gonna skip ahead a bit. If I can find it here. I should have put an index in this thing. I tell you what, I want everybody to close their eyes real quick. This is only gonna take about 5 seconds. I want you to, you will not, under any circumstances, imagine a pink elephant with a red trunk. Okay, let me see. Now, don't say anything, just raise your hands on the people that got a quick image of a pink elephant with a red trunk. Fine. Now, those of you that got a quick image but don't want to admit it, raise your neighbor's hands. Okay. That quick image is all you really need for right now. How to do the imagining. Once a day, imagine and then drop it. Do it for 10 to 15 minutes a day. That's it. Once a day and drop it. Because the more times you do it during the day, the more chances you have of changing your image. And after a while, the high self says, what do you really want? I'm tired of looking at that. Add in every little detail you can, but don't put in the how it's going to happen, only put in what you want. The hows you leave up to the universe. Watch your words. Your words contain images and pictures. Your subconscious obeys these words and pictures. Take action, live your regular life, and pay attention to your hunches. Then go do it. Remember, you don't get what you want, you get what you expect. So watch your expectations. Nearly everyone talking about the law of attraction says visualization is an essential part of the creation process. Well, yes and no. Some books and courses tell us that we have to actually do visualization to create something. But I want to point out something. This thing right here, this light, this microphone, those chairs, were created twice. Stop and think about it. Somebody got an image, and over the course of the years, maybe an automobile or a new plane or something, over the course of the years they put it together and they finally got the blame thing to work. But first it was an image. And we use the word visualization. What we're running into is a bit of a problem on that. Everybody thinks a visualization has to be perfect. It does not. Instead of the word visualization, why don't we go into imagination and imaging? You remember when you were a kid? How many in here played, dolls, cops and robbers, house, whatever? For you guys, when you were playing cops and robbers or cowboys and Indians, you picked up a stick. Within 35, 40 seconds, that stick was no longer a stick, it was a rifle. And you used it like a rifle. And it looked like a rifle in your mind, but you knew it was a stick. That's the kind of imaging we really need to get in our minds. We need to go back to childhood. You still know how to play, you still know how to daydream, it was just beaten out of you at school. We need to learn to daydream again. Your daydreams are your visualizations. The problem with daydreams is if you pay attention to them and really watch them, they take off at tangents. Like maybe you want a new car, so you're daydreaming about having a new car. You got there, you're sitting on the couch, you got your hands on the wheels, smelling the leather, listening to the radio, the back door opens and your kids crawl in and they start making a mess. That's what your imagination is doing to you, your daydreams. If you watch what you're really doing and pay attention to those, you'll find out that your mind is telling you why you cannot have it. You got kids, so you can't have anything nice. What you need to do is change your daydreams. Now, things are coming apart up here.
That sounded like the whistle.
I don't know what
I
that
think
was.
that's a whistle. It's a whistle. That's a whistle.
There we go. Okay. In order to line up with your desired creation, in order to receive it in the physical, you must be vibrating at your desired frequency without giving off a conflicting vibration. Now, when your daydreams go wrong, or go in the wrong direction, or in the direction you don't like, we pretend something has already happened. When we play out these scenes in our heads, we get a chance to root out conflicting vibrations. Every one of those bypasses that you're imagining, those are reasons that your mind is giving you that you can't have what you want. You get a chance to root them out when you're doing your daydreaming. Imagination helps you ferret out those thoughts. So, you might get frustrated or angry, even imagine yourself in situations you don't like. Once your daydreams start going into that direction, remember, this is your brain talking to you, telling you why you can't have it. Those are the programs you have in place now. Because if you didn't have them, you'd already have it. Oops. Any anger and frustration you experience into a belief is a block, a tyrant, a reason that somebody has helped you put into your brain as to why you can't have what you want. Thoughts plus emotion create conviction. Conviction creates reality. So imagining is basically like a dry run for life. It allows you to practice to feel your way through situations and find out where you're still harboring negative frequencies. Here's the problem. What people don't realize is every part of our body is alive, and it is based on love. Your cells love each other in order to stick together. The ones that don't love each other are called cancer, and we get rid of them real quick. Let's see. Imagination can be incredibly powerful yet gentle tool to help you work through your resistances. If properly used, the process can help you ferret out negative vibrations and shift or eliminate them. Here's a few tips. Make it a full body experience. What do you see? What do you hear? How does it smell? How does it feel? Get all your senses involved. Really play pretend like you did when you were a kid. Go back to your childhood. If you're having trouble imagining, get some multimedia help. Find pictures on the internet. Things you want, print them and paste them on a vision board if you like. It's called treasure mapping. Find songs that inspire you and help you get into that daydream. What song would you play while you're driving your new car down a freeway? But remember, just looking at the pictures is not enough. You really have to get into that fantasy. Play it out in your mind in order to see if you're harboring any conflicting vibrations. Have fun with it. When you were a child, you played easily. Have that same attitude now. Don't force yourself to imagine on a strict schedule. Do it when it feels right, when you're having some fun with it. The work is not in the imagining, it's in paying attention to where the imagination takes you. There's a two-point to imagining. The process of the imagining itself and the image that you want to get, and where it's taking you if it's drifting off course. That's the part you got to pay attention to, because that part the subconscious will also pay attention to and bring into reality. You see, your imagination is going into the sea of unrealized probability. And what that's doing is helping pull that image out of the unrealized probability into the reality. If your imagination is drifting, you're going to pull a vector summation out, so as it were. So watch where your imagination is taking you. Your brain is really talking to you all the time. That's that voice you hear in the back of your head. It's called the yada da yada da yada da. I got a question. Who are you? Do you know who you are, really? Are you your name? No, that's what your parents hung on you. Are you your work? No. I found out a long time ago when I was president of the board of directors at Unity Church in Palo Alto. I don't have a name. Neither do you. Inside your head, you're just me. I am. The name that was hung on you was pounded on you by your parents and put on your birth certificate by some official. The you that's inside of you don't really have a name. Stop and think about it. You're just me. I am. This is the one that the brain is talking to. You're not even the idiot behind the eyeballs. That is just a part of the brain that is focused on the outer bits. You're the part that the brain and the mind is talking to. So, what would life be like if you always received the one thing you've always wanted?
Boring.
Play until you can control the entire imagination. When it comes to a game, when you can easily see yourself having fun and desiring with no conflicting thoughts, the thing you want will come about easily. Let me share a couple of personal experiences and imaginations, and then I'll take some questions. When I'd taken Aston Earhart and Silva Mind Control, did some Una and Unity, I decided I wanted some extra money. I did a little programming, a little meditation, a little visualization. Sure enough, I got a little money. I decided right then, bigger is better. So I did big visualization and meditation. And let me tell you, I really went into it. The following week, I was called into Dr. Perry's office at ESL. Dr. Perry later became the Secretary of Defense under President Jimmy Carter. My boss was there, my lead writer, the VP, and horror of horrors, the customer, a bird colonel, Colonel Davis. My heart sank all the way through the floor. And let me tell you, anytime you're called into the boss's office, you wonder what you've done that's wrong. My heart sank all the way through the floor. Dr. Perry was behind his desk. He said, "Mr. Smith," oh boy, came around his desk with a paper in his hand. Now, put this in your mind. Here's the boss coming around his desk. He's just said your name, Mr. Smith. He's got this paper in his hand. You know it's your termination papers. I just about wilted. I couldn't guess why, but that's where the images, they're called tyrants or dragons or trolls, whatever you want to call them. Somehow situations always like this. We always seem to imagine the most negative situation. And Dr. Perry hands me a check for $500, a month sabbatical with pay, and congratulations for finishing the manual 3 weeks ahead of time, and $3,000 under budget, with the Air Force accepting it without change.
Yay!
Talk about programming. The only people in the world without problems are all in cemeteries. Any questions? On this handout, there's some alternatives to visualization. When you can't visualize or meditate, you can go through different things. You can ask what, you can use music. You can zone out, just zone out. Sit down and let your mind drift. That's a part of meditation. You can do what-if questions. You can do vision boards. The problem with vision boards is it's very hard to get a vision or a picture of something called love. And it really isn't picturable, actually. The only thing you can do is when you really want to generate something like that, you look at what you do to show being loving. And what you're looking for is someone that wants and needs what you do in order for them to feel being loved. And what you want, in order to feel being loved, is what they do to show being loving. You can imagine those situations. But the actual emotion of loving, of love, that's really hard to get a picture of in your head. So get a picture of the circumstances surrounding it. That's what I've done, and it's worked quite well in my life so far. I haven't found any reason to change it. Must have done something right the last time around, because we found letter number 11 in the house last time Marge was here, telling us to get together. So, vision boards work. A lot of things I've got on the refrigerator right now. The side of my refrigerator is magnetic, so I've got magnetic pictures up there. These things work. You get a picture of what you want, and remember, when you want something physical, you need to program up the wherewithal to support keeping it. That's one piece that everybody seems to leave out. You want a new car, great. You find the car you like, you buy it, and now you haven't got enough money to put gas in it. Okay, now, any questions? Yes?
When negativity or something you don't want comes into your visualization, I think well, what do?
I look at it, bless it, thank it for being there as a indication that there's something in me that is preventing me from already having what I want, and then go root it out. By rooting it out, all you do is keep looking at it and saying that I love you, I accept that you're there, and I'm going to go around you. I will not give you any energy in my life. And that's about all I can do. And it seems to work. For me. Your mileage may vary on all of this. No guarantees, not from this podium. Not this time, anyway. Anybody, any questions? Yes, Dottie.
Could you talk a little bit more about play acting?
Oh, play acting was so much fun. We do it every
You've
day
got more
anyway.
minutes to talk, so you can
I'm
just.
sorry?
Yeah.
Okay. Play acting, play acting, play acting. That's up here. We do it every day, actually. We're play acting and being alive. We're immortal. We are occupying a body. We're on the Monopoly board. This is the Monopoly board. Like Waters says on Fox News, I'm Waters and this is my world. Well, this is the Monopoly piece. We go elsewhere when we're finished with it. We leave it here. But for right now, we're stuck with it until we decide to leave it. Play acting is what we do when you want to visualize something or imagine something. Set yourself into a situation. What is it you want? New house. Play act as if you have the house. Go through the house in the rooms. Look at it. Play act at living there. Pretend. Make believe. It's like playing dolls. Playing with doll dishes, or playing like cowboys and Indians, as guys used to play, or some of them even used to play going to work. As a kid, we used to build whole towns in the dirt with these wooden pieces of cheese boxes. They used to make cheese boxes out of real wood, and we'd take coping saws, cut them up, make houses out of them. And then the 4th of July, we'd take them out of the country and blow the heck out of them with firecrackers. So we got to start all over. Play act. Pretend. Make believe. Put yourself in the situation of being inside that dream. And another one is the music. You have trouble visualizing, get yourself some music. If you're having problem with, say, anger, you're having an anger spell, somebody's done something that just flat ticked you off. You might put some real heavy rock on, or something, and just really shout, scream, and get it up. Go pound the pillow. Pretend it's them. Knowing it isn't, that you're getting rid of the emotion that the situation caused. You see, the problem isn't really them. They did what they did. You thought about it, what you thought about it. You're the one with the problem. Oh, darn.
Well,
Yes.
The reason I wanted to do the play acting is because I have so many clients who come in and they go, well, I wanna meet somebody and be happy.
Uh-huh.
How do they play act meeting somebody if they don't know who it is?
They know what it is they want from that person.
Right.
That's what I was saying before. If they know how they show being loving, if they can write down everything they do to show being loving, and if they can write down everything that they don't like that other people do when they're trying to show being loving, I'll get into that in a minute, but what I do, I looked for a woman that wanted and needed, in order to feel being loved, what I do to show being loved. And I also looked at the fact that what she does to show being loving is what I want and need in order to feel being loved. I could look I could look at the circumstances surrounding them, the actions I do, and they do. Now, the problem is say they like hard rock, and I like instrumental. One of us is going to have a problem with music. Now, the thing is you get to find out, do you really have a problem with the music, or is it just something you can change? You get to learn to be flexible. For you men, the word is trained. I prefer the term flexible because it makes it a heck of a lot easier. I don't know, when I met Carol, it was the same way. We looked at what we each do in order to show affection. And we looked at what each wanted and needed from the other person in order to feel being loved. And then we sat down and decided how we're going to work out the differences. And we actually talked about it, and it worked. It worked for 34 years, and we never had a fight. We did have irritations, we did get over them. And it's working right now with magic. I mean, my wife died last year, she picked out a replacement. I mean, come on. I must have done something right, and if you'll let me know what it is, I'll do it again. Continuously. Does that help, Dottie?
Yeah, but they still are looking for the physical instead of I get all these requests for somebody who's 6'2", broad shouldered, they're looking for a guy, anyway, 6'2",
Yeah.
Broad shoulders, speaks English well, has a
Yeah.
degree, and they have all of these things that they're not visualizing, it's a wish list. And then when this wonderful man who's 5'10" and dark haired and comes in, and they go, well, that can't be him. That's not what I asked for.
That's right. Regina, you had an answer to that.
Maybe they could go buy a Ken doll and dress them up as they need them.
That's
Or a
good point.
superhero doll, or...
Yes. Yes.
Well, I know it was for Dottie. I remember when you did like a soulmate thing, and you told about Byron, I think it was, where Gene, or
Yeah, Byron being a black man, and he had all this list of everything he wanted. And he called me and he said, I don't believe it. This old white man came into my life and I found I'm in love with him and he doesn't match anything on my list. And he said, I don't know, should I go with him? What?
You're right.
And, yeah, and they got together and it was very happily ever after.
Sure.
But that's what I mean. Sometimes what you pretend you want, something's gonna come in that fits it, but not the way you saw it in your head.
True, true. So what you need to do is understand that your imaging is simply an indication to the universe that you want something. Now, whether it actually fits every part of that, or maybe even just one tiny part, and it's the part you haven't even thought about way over here in the left corner, something will fit, one little bitty part. And that's the most important part that you left out. The part that they actually like you.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I like the way you put it, of how you're like what you need.
Before I met Carol, I was in a very, very bad marriage. At the time, I didn't realize that she parked her invisible broom in the corner. I didn't know her, never saw it. Anyway, when that ended, I sat down and started looking at exactly what it was that I do to show being loving and what I wanted and needed in order to feel being loved. I wrote it out. I changed that list at least 100 times. And one day I walked into the Science of Mind Church at the Jonathan Club. There was Carol. It was a week later, I went to a New Year's Eve party at one of the ladies that was at the church. And there was Carol again. I said, that's it. And I walked over and I said, there you are. Where have you been? You want to go get something to eat? She says, well, sure. You took your time getting here. So we were together ever since, 34 years. So by making the list of what I wanted and needed, these were emotions, these were actions the other person did. I had no image of the other person's physical appearance. I let that go. That's hard to do, but I did. You've got to understand, she was 15 years older than I, and yet there was no age difference. So I had to look past that. And it was very easy to do. Where there was really no age difference. Regina knew her, she knows.
Yeah.
We're a couple of teenagers.
Carol was a blast.
Well, she would have been 96 when she died if she'd lived another month. I'm 81. I'll be 82 this August. So we had a lot of fun. 34 years. And I'm looking for another, well, I don't think I'll have 34 more years, but I'm looking for quite a few more years of fun with Magic. We've decided we're life partners. And again, we sat down and wrote out what we wanted and needed in order to feel being loved, and what we could generate and give out what we do in order to show being loving to the other person. Yes, Regina?
There were a lot of PowerPoints in the very beginning of your talk,
Yeah.
and you went through them so quick. Are there some of them that really stand out that others might need to hear or have some clarification on? Because they were some really good ones, but they were a little complex in their presentation that they might not have gotten it.
Okay. What I can do is I'll take the email addresses or something, and I'll send you a copy of this if you want. The most important one of all, the universe reads your intention by where your attention is. And if you notice what you're noticing, you'll notice where your attention is. If your attention is on lack, you'll get a lot more lack. If your attention is on how angry you feel, you're going to get a lot more anger. If your attention is on bringing in more money, you'll find that money is slowly coming in. It is slow, it works, but after a while the trickle becomes a river. Oh, I better not say river. It slowly increases. The universe uses your attention to decide what your intention is. Where you focus that intention is very powerful. That's what pulls these things out of the sea of unrealized probability and brings it smacking down on your head. And by the way, if you don't know what you want, how are you going to know when you fall over it on the road in life? You better know what you want. You have to get an image. You have to know what it is you want. If you can't get an image, imagery works for a lot of things. It doesn't work for a lot of emotions. It doesn't work for love. So like I said, what you have to do is set up the circumstances surrounding that situation. All of the positive ones. And look at where your negative ones set and get rid of them. Any more questions? Yeah. Yes.
I wanted to be a testament to what you were saying, because when I was little, I used to draw like what I wanted my future husband to look like, and I even wrote a list of all the things I wanted in him. And then when I met my now fiance, I just knew that was him, and it even looked like the image that I had drawn out. There were a few things that were different. I wanted a Christian man, and he's Hindu, which Creator knew that was to my benefit. He has kids, But, you know, if I was stuck to this, like, it has to be this way, then I wouldn't be in this relationship that I'm in now, about to marry this guy. Also, as far as the vision boards, I did one last year, and 9 out of 10 of those things that I put on the board happened that year.
Oh, nice.
You want a really good one? You wanna learn how this works? It's called the law of tenfold return. Give out a penny to everybody you meet. And then start looking at the way things come back into you. Now, it won't always be money. There will be other things of value that come in, value to you. There'll be offers of maybe service or food or whatever. We did this at Unity. I was giving away quarters. And let me tell you, it was astonishing what we got back. In the dowsers right now, we're doing what is called the percentage dowsing. Taking a pendulum and putting it over a chart and looking at the percentage of the probability energy that you have. Is it positive or negative? And if it's negative, you check and see what kind of blocks you have. And then you have the pendulum circle counterclockwise. That's just an indication that your subconscious is working. Remove the block. You don't need to know what the block is. You could care less. Just get rid of it. Then ask the pendulum to show you a percentage. We have a chart that shows amount positive and negative percentages, to show you the percentage of your prosperity energy level. And the last time I did that, it was up to 80% positive. When I started, it was 6% negative. Oops.
Yeah.
So you can do it for health. You can use pendulum for all kinds of things. You can use pendulum to even pull somebody in by finding out why you're blocking somebody coming into your life. The pendulum is nothing more than a piece of metal you can use a ring on a string.
Right.
It has no magical powers of its own. It's your subconscious using the micro tremors of the muscles to operate the thing. And it's a visual indication to the idiot behind the eyeballs that the subconscious is actually working. That's all. The idiot behind the eyeballs doesn't know how to do anything, really. I refer to, that's me here. You see, I can prove this very simply. I don't know how to walk. Will someone teach me how to walk, please? Which muscle in which leg do I contract and which ones do I expand to cause my leg to move?
Just fall forward.
Up here, yeah, well, that'll put me flat on the floor. Up here behind the eyeballs, I don't know how to do that. That's the region of the non-conscious level, the real operator of the body that goes and does the dancing, the moving, and the memory, and the digesting of food, the generation of energy to move you around, and creates the things you want in your life by communicating with the high self. That part of you which is divine, that part of you which answers your prayers. Some people call it Jesus, others call it God. But as far as we know, that's the highest level of God that we can image, that we are capable of having any kind of contact with. If the high self needs help, there is the great union of high selves. It goes and gets help. There's even an energy above it if it needs it. This is according to the Hawaiian kahunas. And let me tell you, that's very powerful stuff. It works like crazy. All of this is based on the same material, the same stuff that every one of the great masters has taught all along in life. You are far more powerful than you have any idea that you are. What you don't know is you are God's pretending to be human. And that's about it. Thank you.